Good evening. My name is Susan, and I'm an online admissions rep on behalf of George Mason. And thank you for joining us for tonight's MPH webinar. And I am joined with Dr. Mitchum, Program Director, and Program Advisor or Coordinator, Sarah Liu. So thank you both for joining. As I had mentioned, familiarize yourself with the Q&A feature so that you can input your questions throughout the program. This is your time. You have the ear of the program director and the MPH advisor to answer all those pressing questions that you've been wanting to get answered. So don't be shy. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And again, thank you and welcome.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you very much to Susan for hosting tonight and for Sarah for joining. As Susan said, Sarah and I will be able to answer any questions that you might have. And if you think of anything during the presentation, please don't hesitate to ask. Sometimes I know that while I'm talking, somebody might think of something that pops in your head and you don't want to necessarily wait. We'll do our best to answer all the questions. I'm very excited too because the online Master of Public Health program at Mason is fairly new. We've had an established Masters of Public Health program that is accredited. We've had it for a number of years. It is fabulous, if I do say so myself. But the entirely online offering partnered through Wiley is new. We launched this past fall, and we're excited that you're interested in potentially joining our students. So we'll talk a little bit tonight about why this program might be a good fit for you. We'll talk about some learning outcomes, a little bit about the courses that are part of the program, some curriculum details, what courses specifically are part of the program. And then obviously you don't get a degree just to get a degree, but what sort of jobs you might be able to get if you get your MPH degree. Sarah, like Susan mentioned, is fabulous with being able to articulate some of the job potentials and also talk a little bit about the amazing network of grads that we have that help to support and mentor current students. So all of that and more will be included. And just a heads up, I do have dogs. So if you hear barking, I am sorry, kind of, but dogs are awesome. So you may hear them throughout the night. All right, next slide, please. All right, so as we go through the presentation tonight, if you would like, enter any questions that you have in the chat box. You can also raise your hand virtually, make sure that you know how to do that, and we can answer your questions. And then if you think of something after the event is over, I will make sure to share my email address. Also, Sarah, if she is willing, can have her share too, so we are able to answer any questions that you might think of after the presentation. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm Dr. Mitchum. I am the director of the online MPH program at Mason. I'm also currently the interim director of the master's program and the Department of Global and Community Health at George Mason University. An assistant professor there. So I not only am very involved with this program, but I also teach in the department. And I have to say we have the most fabulous group of students ever and some amazing faculty members as well. And Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, MB. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. As was mentioned, I am the MPH program coordinator. I went to George Mason University for undergrad and got my Bachelor of Science in Community Health with a concentration in global health. And I got my Master's of Public Health in the University of Colorado, Denver, Colorado School of Public Health, with a concentration in global maternal and child health. And I'm very excited to meet you all and answer any questions you may all have.
All right, thank you very much. So why on earth should you consider George Mason? Now, granted, I am obviously very, very biased and I will be freely open and admit that. However, we do have some things going for our program that I think makes us a really good fit for a lot of prospective students. First of all, the College of Public Health at George Mason University is the first College of Public Health in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We received that designation this past fall. And we are currently working on continuing our accreditation, not only to have our public health designation for our program, we are CEIF accredited as a program, but also to have that College of Public Health status. That means that our students are uniquely positioned to be able to potentially collaborate with other departments within the college. One of our courses in particular, we'll cover on in a little bit, GCH 500, is a requirement for all students in the master's program in the College of Public Health. So in that course, we have students from nutrition, students from nursing, students from social work, students from health administration and policy, students from global and community health, all together taking this one course to learn and explore about public health. So again, very exciting to be able to have access to different silos, different disciplines, different faculty members, and other students in the college that are learning different components that all tie into the field of public health. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, our department is also very unique in that we have a public health mentor program where students who have gone through the program are willing to act as mentors and serve as mentors to students who are currently in the program. That's fabulous, not just answering questions of, hey, this assignment or this course, I have concerns, what do you recommend? But even more so after your degree is finished or as you're working toward your practicum, which we will also talk about in a little bit, what career goals might recent grads have? What are some recommendations they have for completing their practicum? So that mentor program is truly invaluable. We also, as I mentioned, are accredited by CEIF, the Council on Education for Public Health Accreditation. That credentialing is important. Not only does it mean that our program is valid and excellent, but it also means that you can sit for several public health certification exams like the CPH exam, because our program will set you up to be able to take that exam, not just content-wise, but accreditation-wise as well. And then we also have practicum, fieldwork, and internship opportunities. As any MPH student will attest, there is that practicum opportunity where students are able to take what they've learned in their courses and then apply that in a very practical and real way in the field, which I personally found the most exciting part of my MPH journey, because it gave me a chance to use what I had learned, but it also was an excellent opportunity to add to my resume and to be able to make some of those connections in the job market where it set me up for later work. However, that's not solely what our students have available to them. There are internship opportunities potentially, and all of the students in all of our MPH programs are eligible to apply to serve as graduate assistants. So GPA, graduate professional assistant, GRA, graduate research assistant, or GTA, graduate teaching assistant. Basically, students working with faculty members to complete some work, again, getting a little bit extra funding, but also giving you the ability to add to your resume and to your platform. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. So the MPH program at Mason in the Department of Global and Community Health is based on a group of core courses, a group of concentration courses, and then a group of required courses in addition to the core that are a part of the practicum experience. So without getting into too much annoying detail regarding accreditation and the competencies, the core courses that all of our MPH students have in totality reflect the 22 public health competencies that are required by CEIF to be covered in our courses. So all of those 22 competencies are covered by these 5 courses. GCH 500, which is the Foundations of Public Health. That's the course that I mentioned earlier that is taken by all students, graduate students in the college. And it's exciting because students are able to collaborate with each other and really learn from each other's experiences. I'm currently teaching 2 sections of that course right now, and I'm enjoying it a lot. GCH 604, Fundamentals of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. So rather than a very biostat heavy course, this will enable students to be introduced to the field of biostatistics and epidemiology and have some math. But if you are not a math loving person, it will be just enough math for you to understand the concepts, but not too much math for you to feel like you want to cry. And the faculty member who designed that course, Dr. Helen Chin, is fabulous. GCH 609, Community Assessment and Partnerships. Students are able to explore how to engage with community members, how to collaborate, a little bit about grant writing, some about qualitative research, mixed methods research, and really learn and explore how to do community work, which is fundamentally important in a lot of community work in public health. And I'm the faculty member who teaches that course. I love that course. GCH 611, Health Program Planning and Evaluations. That course is taught by Dr. Ken Griffith. He is also fabulous, and students explore learning how to plan and evaluate programs that they do in the field. Again, making sure that students have what they need to succeed in their work. GCH 645, U.S. and Global Public Health Systems. That course is designed and taught by Dr. Leela Fleming, who is fabulous and teaches a lot about different components of global public health. HAP 635, which is offered by the Department of Health Administration and Policy, again, going back to that College of Public Health approach where we have different disciplines represented. So talking about healthcare and how healthcare systems correlate with the field of public health. And then HAP 680, which is Applied Public Health Leadership and Management. So those are the core courses taken by all students in our MPH program. For our concentration courses, for the PHP concentration, there is GCH 535, which is Public Health Preparedness and Response. Dr. David Rainin is the faculty member who has developed that course, and it talks a lot about emergency preparedness and emergency response, so very beneficial if you are considering work in any sort of emergency response position. GCH 607, Evidence-Based Public Health Practice, and that one is taught by Dr. Ken. And that one is looking at why we do what we do in the field of public health, so looking at it from an empirical framework. GCH 655, Public Health Equity and Justice, that one is taught by Dr. Rochelle Davidson, looking at how public health justice and how injustice in the world affects what we do in the field of public health. GCH 691, Project Management and Public Health. So if you are doing any sort of public health work and you have to learn how to do more grant writing, or how do you implement what you're being told if you're working in a state or a local city department and you're told, okay, these are the priorities, how do you make that happen? Kelly Beckwith, who is our Assistant Director of Academic Programs, and I will be creating that course, very excited for that. And then GCH 720, Public Health Problems in a Changing Society. That is our ILE course. And the ILE courses basically are a way for students to be able to take what they've learned and then create deliverables to show that they really understand the content of that work. And guess who the faculty member is for that one? And then in addition to that, we have two electives, GCH 551, Rural Health, which I'm especially excited about. A lot of the research and work I do is in the space of rural health. And people who get their public health degrees often think of public health within the context of urban health, but we're also going to explore why rural health. So that way, if you come from a rural area, you might be able to bring some of that work back. If you want to get a job in a rural area, there are a lot of rural public health jobs. You'll be adequately set up to be able to be successful in that work. Or if you want to do overseas work in rural regions, you'll understand a little bit more about the components there. And then GCH 560, which is environmental health. That course is going to be built and available hopefully next year. And then finally, I promise almost done with this, our practicum seminar and practicum in public health. Every MPH student is required to complete hours of field work. For our program, it is 200 hours of field work. And rather than just saying, okay, go have fun, you need to do this, and then not have students prepared to identify where they're going to complete the practicum, what exactly is required of them in the practicum and all of that stuff, we have a 0 credit mandatory course, GCH 780, which is the practicum seminar, where students are taught, this is what it will be required in your practicum. What do you want to do with your practicum? How can we make sure that the 200 hours that you complete reflects the necessary components of what you covered in your concentration? How can we link you up with an available community setting for you to complete those practicum hours? So GCH 780 is 0 credit. It is required, but in that course, students are set up to be able to complete their practicum. And then the capstone of the public health experience is GCH 790, where students do complete those 200 fieldwork hours, and then they end up graduating with their MPH degree. And all that totals 42 credit hours. And I will make a quick note here that all of these courses in the PHP concentration are available asynchronous online. However, there are some of the courses like GCH 500, GCH 609, occasionally 604, 645, and then especially the core courses, HAP 635 and 680, that may be offered in person. So if you do live close to Mason campus and you would like to take one of these courses in person, if it is being offered in person, that is also a possibility. All right, next slide, please. All right, so why on earth public health? Well, I think the pandemic was a really good example of why public health is important. That's what most people think of now when they think of public health. Public health is so much more than that, but likely because public health is just so practical, right? So preventing disease and promoting health, there are so many different ways in which that can happen. So there's an expectation that the field of public health is going to continue to grow over the next several years. The MPH degree really sets students up well to be able to hold various jobs in official public health fields and maybe some fields that you might not consider as public health. Before this presentation, I was chatting with Susan about some potential jobs that you could hold if you were to complete the PHP concentration. You could potentially be a health educator in a school, or you could potentially work for cooperative extension and teach health topics, or you could possibly work in a doctor's office or in a dentist's office and then, help with the prevention of disease component. So yes, there are jobs that have public health in the title, but public health practice is more of that work that you're able to do in the community that prevents disease and promotes health, but might not have the public health title in it. But that MPH credentialing will set you up very well to be able to be, considered for a lot of those jobs. There are certain placements, and Sarah can talk more about this later, where our alums have gone on to not only get jobs, but have excellent careers. So again, the MPH degree is an excellent option for that. Also for people who have earned their dietitian credentialing, but might need a master's degree, adding the public health background to that might be helpful. Or if you are a nurse or a medical doctor, adding that MPH credentialing will also help to make you a little bit more of a well-rounded professional. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the admissions process. If you do decide to apply to the program, the amazing reps at Wiley will be able to help you walk through it. Basically, you're going to be applying through a platform called Sophus. Sophus is used for a lot of different public health programs, and one of the benefits of using that platform is when you do apply through Sophus, you can apply to multiple institutions at the same time. Hopefully Mason is one of those, but that way you're not having to pay for separate application fees each time you apply to a separate institution. You can upload all of your materials on that platform. And then once you do that, then you can select different institutions and go from there. So you will need to have a completed bachelor's degree. We do prefer that you have at least a GPA of at least 3.0, but if you don't, that doesn't mean that you can't apply to the program. We do look at each case holistically. We've had some students with lower GPAs, but they've written beautiful letters of support saying this is what was going on in my life at the time. I've done work after that and I've increased my GPA, and they have been able to enter our program. So 3.0 or greater is preferred, but that's not a hard and fast line. You will also need to upload transcripts, 2 letters of recommendation, a statement of purpose, and that statement of purpose can be especially powerful, again, if you had some mitigating circumstances that made it so you might not think that just looking at your grades might be a best way to judge your effectiveness as a student. And then also your resume or your CV, so that we are able to get a really good picture of who you are, or how you are able to maybe be a good fit for the program. So sorry, Sarah just sent me a text. She said that her internet is out and she's trying to fix it, but hopefully she'll be able to come back on. All right, so in addition to those requirements for the Sophus application, if you are an international student, you need to make sure that all of your transcripts are translated into English, and that you will need your English proficiency test scores, either TOEFL or IELTS, and the TOEFL you'll need at least an 88 minimum and a 20 minimum in each section, and the IELTS you'll need a 7.0 minimum. All right, next slide, please. Oh. I guess that's it. So if you have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, please feel free to ask. If there are any online MPH specific questions, I am happy to answer them. If there are MPH program questions, I'm happy to answer as many as I can. And if there isn't anything that I can answer tonight, I promise to research it and get back to you.
Okay, well, we have someone who has raised his hand. So Mohammed, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for all the information. I just wanted to ask, I was informed that Duolingo is also another type of test that you can take to prove your English proficiency. Is that not on the list anymore, or?
To the best of my knowledge, that is not one of the accepted tests through the Sophist platform. It's just the two that were listed there. But if you have any other, that's something that I can double check and get back to you. If you would like to know, I can check with OSA tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay, and the it's practice of so what concentrations do we have on online?
So the only concentration that is offered fully asynchronously online right now is public health practice. So that would include the courses that were covered tonight, and the public health practice concentration of the MPH degree would set you up to do pretty much any type of job unless it were a specifically epidemiological biostats focused career.
So, just to, I mean, what's the difference between public health practice and health policy? Because health policy is a concentration that's not offered online. You have to go in person to the campus.
So, health policy, as far as the concentration, the courses are different. So we have the same courses for both concentrations. The health policy concentration courses are different. Those are focused more on, I would say, if somebody would want to work in a hospital setting and work more with looking at health policy as far as it driving, again, healthcare settings, that would be probably a better fit for a student. If a student were looking at how to promote health in a community setting or promoting health even in a hospital setting, but doing more health education, then the public health practice would probably be a better fit. And Sarah, I see that you're back on. If you have anything to add to that, please feel free to chime in.
Yeah, sorry everyone. I had a little bit of technical difficulties on my end. But yeah, I usually tell students that those who go into health policy, there's an array of fields that they can, go into, but a lot of them end up working within the systems, right? So if it was whether it's for them to work within the healthcare systems in hospitals, but there's a huge array of possibilities of what you can do within the health policy, but I think I would say it's a little bit different than the practice. Yeah.
Just to give you a little background, I am a doctor. I did my MBBS from a foreign country, and my degrees are evaluated now by NACE's member to a MD equivalent. So I'm just going back and forth to choose which one is better for me. But I don't know, to be honest, to which one to go with.
Between the public health communications, right, versus the public health practice. Correct,
No,
Mohammed?
it's public health policy or
the policy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I would say it ultimately depends on what you're hoping to do after you get your master's of public health. It does not mean that just because you get the public health practice, concentration, that you can't work within health policy, right? And vice versa. You can be getting your concentration in health policy and going to the public health practice field. It just means that the concentration classes are a lot more oriented and geared towards health policy. So if, I would take a look at what kind of core courses or which kind of concentration courses are within the health policy class or the concentration, and see if those are classes that you would be interested in. But it doesn't restrict you in terms of what you want to do after. So I think, and we usually also let folks change their concentration once. So let's say you apply with the health policy and you say, you take the courses, and as time passes, you realize you kind of want to go into PHP. You can change your concentration once, depending on, so you would have to submit another personal statement over to me, and Dr. Mitchum would also look at that. And if we feel that, public health practice is a better fit for you, you would be able to change your concentration. But just really think about what you are hoping to do with your degree.
Got you. And where can I see the subjects or the concentration in more detail that is taught? So I just want to compare both of the concentrations so I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah, if you look on our webpage, if you just search GMU, MPH, school, College of Public Health, all of our degree programs will come out, and then all of our concentrations will come out, so you can compare the different concentrations and the classes that will be offered.
Gotcha. Okay. And can you tell me like how much time period is like I'm looking at to completing the degree?
It depends on the person. I can't say that, you would have up to 6 years to complete your program. On average, students, we have a good amount of students who are part-time as well, because they're working full-time. So those students tend to graduate within, 2 to 4 years. But if you're a full-time student and you take 9 credits every semester, or most semesters, then you should be able to more or less graduate within 2 to 2.5 years.
Gotcha. I mean, what's the fastest time period that I can complete with? Like if I think I can take 3 3 credits in a semester, right?
So the fastest you could complete the course would be within the program, and any MPH degree would be 2 years. That would be the absolute fastest if you were full-time for everything.
You said 2 years?
Correct. Yeah. If you were full-time for everything, the course can be, the entire scope of the program can be completed within 2 years.
Gotcha. And then that goes for both in person, in on campus and online, right?
It would be for any MPH degree. So this is one thing that's a little bit different about our program from some other MPH programs. All of our MPH degrees are MPH degrees. Whether you take courses online or in person, it's the same program. So all of our MPH concentrations can be completed in as little as 2 years if students complete them full time.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
Sarah,
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mohammed. Sarah, can you differentiate what the difference is between the public health communication degree and the public health practice degree?
Yeah, so actually we don't have the public health communication concentration anymore. It's actually community health promotion. And so that's a little bit different. A lot of those students who pursue community health promotion go into a lot of advocacy work, whether that's, working with a nonprofit and advocating and prevention for a particular health topic or a policy. It's quite broad, but there's a lot of courses concentrated in terms of how to correctly advocate, or working with a particular community in terms of, applying advocacy within that field or promotion within that. And I think that's a little bit different than public health practice. MB, do you have anything to add on to that?
I do. Thank you, Sarah. So kind of tagging on with that, and then also going through the questions that are in the chat box. So there's a question: I'm a physician interested in health literacy. I'm curious if there are any health communication electives in the online program. So the 2 restricted electives for this concentration are rural health or environmental health. However, as a faculty member who has either designed and or taught courses, I can say that GCH 609 and GCH 691 and GCH 500 and GCH 720 in particular have a lot of public health communication embedded in that, just because if you do not have effective public health communication in any work that you do in the field, it's not going to work very well. So there aren't any courses with public health communication in the title, but the content is definitely reflected in those courses. Also, GCH 655, Public Health Equity and Justice. I know that Dr. Davidson does cover a lot of that same basic component there. So no communication specific title courses, but all of the courses that are in the program do reflect that need for communication, as well as incorporate strategies. So one of the reasons why that communication concentration is no longer what it is and has changed a little bit now is just because some of the reflected competencies and requirements from CEEF have been updated, where we know that communication is important, right? So if we as human beings and as professionals don't communicate adequately, none of what we do matters. So rather than having a concentration that focuses solely on that health communication, we just embed that reality and embed that information into the courses. So if there are any other questions about that, please definitely keep asking. I'm going to keep going with the questions in the list. Physical location for advising, Sarah, is the physical location and remote location for academic advising for the program from the Mason side of things. If you're wanting Wiley advising, then Susan can speak to that. But I know if you would like to come to Mason and talk with an academic advisor, then Sarah is the person that you would want to make sure that you reach out to. Let's see. 2 hours. Oh, Sarah, look at you being so awesome. So just to kind of reiterate what Sarah said about, or what Sarah typed, not accurately saying that she said it in the chat about the practicum. The practicum does have to take place at one physical location. It cannot be broken down into multiple locations. And it is completed all at once. If it is fully online, the 200 hours are going to be worked out, as Sarah mentioned, with the practicum coordinator. So there is a possibility. I know there have been some students who are international students or who are planning on traveling internationally, and they're like, okay, well, how do I complete my practicum? Your practicum hours just have to be completed at a site that is validated as being acceptable, with tasks that are validated as being acceptable for your concentration. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the DC area. So if you're a fully online student, but say you live in West Virginia and you have a site in West Virginia that you're like, hey, I would like to do my practicum here, 100% acceptable. That will be worked out with your practicum coordinator. And that is done at the end of the program. It's the last semester in the program. So basically you've learned all this stuff. You've done your ILE course. You've learned how to create amazing materials based on what you've learned. And then you get to put all of that stuff in use for your 200-hour practicum.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead, and Aisha has her hand raised. Go ahead. Go ahead and unmute.
Oh, I mean, sorry, I had already asked my questions in the chat, but thank you so much.
Oh, okay, perfect. And so with the practicum, if somebody's having difficulty finding placement, do we assist with that?
So that is what is taken care of in GCH 780 and GCH before GCH 790. So that 0 credit practicum seminar is where the practicum coordinator, and right now that's Dr. Winter, who is fabulous, will work with students and say, okay, this is what you're going to be doing during your practicum. Because I know most students kind of get a little bit anxious about, what exactly does it look like when I have to complete these 200 hours. So she will work with you, or whomever the practicum coordinator is at that point. We'll work with students to identify what sites are acceptable, to make sure that there are site visits, to make sure that the sites meet all of the criteria to support student needs, not just for accreditation and for graduation, but also to make sure that they promote student wellness.
Perfect. And is there a minimum number of hours that need to be done per week?
Per week, no, it's 200 over the semester.
Gotcha. And so you had mentioned that coursework is delivered asynchronously. So that's wonderful for all y'all that are working, because that allows you to access your education around your schedule as long as you meet the weekly deadlines. So now I forgot what I was going to ask. So in terms of faculty outreach and interaction, how does that work?
So I am one of those odd ducks that completed my education pretty much entirely online. I had started way back when and then took a break to be able to focus on my family needs, and then went through associates through doctorate pretty much entirely online. My experiences as a student, seeing what worked well to support me and what I didn't have that I wish I had to support me, has made it so this program is designed where even though the courses are asynchronous, meaning there aren't set lecture times where you have to show up, it's not like you're just sitting there by yourself completely unsupported, you meaning if you are a student in the program. Faculty members who teach in these areas are in these courses are expected to hold office hours, not just during the stereotypical work week, but also to be available when students are available, thinking that students work and have families and other lives too. We also strive to respond very quickly to student emails, so making sure that we are accessible. I kind of handpick the faculty members who teach in this space. So we have faculty members who design courses and teach in them. And then we have some faculty members that come in and support teaching some courses that were designed by other faculty members. All of the faculty members who teach in this space are not only excellent professionals, but are very engaging with how they treat the content, how they teach the content, and how they engage with students, so that the course material seems more alive and vibrant than if you were just taking a course kind of on your own. And so there is that opportunity for the back and forth give and take that you would experience in a normal classroom setting.
Okay, perfect. Is there actually any group projects?
Good question. As of right now, in any of the courses, there are not required group projects. The reason for that is I have had students end up in tears over group projects. However, there is a possibility for students to collaborate on projects if they so choose. It's not a mandated assignment. There are some discussion boards in some courses, so students can either directly engage with each other, or for example, in one of the courses that I teach, GCH 609, students create mini grants, or they create these projects and then they share their projects in a discussion board setting so other students can learn from them. So in that way, it's kind of like a group learning experience without having to collaborate with people that are on completely different schedules from yours.
Perfect. And what would you say, and I know, of course, this is going to vary depending on the student, but how many hours a week would you say would need to be spent on classwork?
Completely 100% depends on the person. These courses are 15 weeks in length. For the most part, GCH 500 has the opportunity of being taken in 8-week segments rather than 15 weeks. I like the 15 weeks just because that way the work's more easily digestible. And the course content and the course time will vary based on student to student and course to course. Rough estimate is that it would be probably 7 hours to 10 hours per week per course, but that can vary. There are some students who spend much less than that. There are some students who spend more than that. There are also support links embedded in each course. So if students have questions about formatting for these courses, APA or AMA formatting are required. There are links for help. Mason also offers online writing help and support. So for often what I found, at least for students, it takes students a little bit longer starting back off in courses just to get familiar with kind of the ebb and flow of what's required and how to format papers and things like that. The support's in place so students will have what they need. And then as the time goes on, hopefully it will take a little bit less to complete their work.
Okay, makes sense. And just want to confirm that I have this correct. It's 14 classes for 42 credits. And what students do is they take 2 classes per 15 weeks. However, if they want to do full-time, that's 3 classes per 15 weeks. Is that correct?
That is with the caveat that the summertime is a little bit different. During the summer, we're going to probably offer we are offering courses for 8 weeks in length, just so that you actually have part of your summer, and so that there can be a little bit of a space, so you're not taking 2 accelerated courses at the same time, if you choose to take 2 courses at the same time. But yes, typically it would be 2 to 3 courses per semester. The courses are 15 weeks in length. There are no final exams per se for these courses. All of the courses have the course content, all of the learning objectives, all of the assessments bundled in that. So you would not need to come to campus and take any other exams for the program. Yes.
Just one thing to add on to that. I will say in terms of number of courses, I usually count it as credits. And so I recommend students not taking more than 9 credits. And so they're able to take up to 12 credits, although I don't recommend that. 9 credits is 3 classes. Almost all the students take 9 credits if they're full time, just because like Dr. Mitchum had mentioned earlier, most students take 10 hours additionally to study for these courses or complete assignments. It's very different than undergraduate courses, and it can take some time to adjust to the intensive and it's just very different than undergrad courses. So just please keep that in mind. And you can always add classes up to a certain point after the semester starts. So you can start off with 2 classes or start off with 3 classes. At one point, if you do take 3 courses, and you might have to take the seminar on top of that. So that might be 4 classes, but it will still come up to be 9 credits because the seminar course is 0. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind. But when you do get admitted to the program, I usually meet with students to kind of plan out their courses to make sure that they're not loading on the credits as well. So just wanted to point that out.
Perfect. And now it makes more sense to me, because when I was figuring if you did the full time, the 3 courses per semester, I was getting 5 semesters, which is less than 2 years. But if you're saying in the summer, it's only 8 weeks, so you're probably not going to want to double up on courses. That's where you get the 2 years. Is that correct?
That, and also, again, like Sarah mentioned, the practicum seminar is 0 credits. And then also just keep in mind too that the practicum itself is 200 hours. That you'll get more information about if you're in the program, but that takes a lot of time in the semester. So if you're doing that and then trying to also juggle other responsibilities, you might not be able to also carry a full course load that semester as well. So I love that Sarah mentioned the fact that the graduate courses are different from undergrad. Undergrad courses tend to be more synthesis of material, where these programs tend to be more application of material. So again, knowing what you can conceivably carry with balancing home, work responsibilities, life if you want to have one while you're completing your degree. And Sarah's excellent because she's been there at being able to kind of help coach that if you decide to join any one of our programs.
Any more questions? This has been very informative. I love the flexibility of this program, though. So it sounds to me like if you prefer the online, you can take your core courses online. And then if you want to switch, if you have the ability to go to campus for a different concentration, you can. Okay.
Correct, with the exception of epidemiology. That one there's one core course that's a little bit different from the rest of the core courses from any other program. So if you love biostatistics and you want epidemiology, this is probably not the concentration for you. Any of the other concentrations have some overlap, again, having that communication focus, but also just the practical application of taking MPH core knowledge and being able to use it in the field in a powerful and practical way. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. Sarah or I or Susan would be happy to answer them.
Absolutely. So just to reiterate, the application process is through Sophus. If you have any questions regarding the application process and you're not working with an enrollment counselor, please don't hesitate to reach out to the number on the screen as well as the email. And, myself and my group of colleagues are happy to answer any questions.